Good morning, John Muchler here, the pastor of the Ferndale Alliance Church. We're continuing our look at Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12. From the Sermon on the Mount, the last of the Beatitudes, the list of blessings, and it goes like this. Verse 10, Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. We know that persecution of people of religious faiths is increasing worldwide, all faiths, but especially Christianity. In Pakistan, for example, on March 2nd, 2011, the only Christian minister in the Pakistan government was shot dead because of his faith. In August of 2009, 6 Christians, including 4 women and a child, were burnt alive by militants, and a church set ablaze in Pakistan when violence broke out after alleged desecration of a Qumran in a wedding ceremony by Christians. On September 25, 2002, 2 terrorists entered the Peace and Justice Institute in Karachi, where they separated Muslims from Christians and then murdered 7 Christians by shooting them in the head. In the country of Iran, Muslim converts today that convert to Christianity, typically to Protestant Christianity, are arrested and sometimes executed. And in China, the Associated Press reported in 2018 that its leader and Communist Party is waging the most severe systemic suppression of Christianity in the country since religious freedoms were written into their constitution in 1982. This has included destroying crosses, burning Bibles, shutting churches, and ordering followers to sign papers renouncing their faith. Just this January, Christianity Today magazine reported this. Every day, 8 Christians worldwide are killed because of their faith. Every week, 182 churches or Christian buildings are attacked, and every month, 309 Christians are imprisoned unjustly. So reports the 2020 World Watch List from Open Doors. The hardest place to be a Christian, where you're most apt to be persecuted and shut down, here are the 10. Top 10 countries: North Korea, Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, Pakistan, Eritrea, Sudan, Yemen, Iran, and India. Again, persecution is worldwide for all faiths, Muslim, Jewish, even more marginal groups, non-affiliated groups like agnostics and atheists are being persecuted, but more so among Christians. It's happening especially in the larger countries. 5 countries that represent 3/4 of the world's population are among the most harsh and most persecuting nations: China, Iran, Russia, Egypt, and Indonesia. Back here at home, I am not going to use the word persecuted. We're not persecuted here, but there is clearly religious discrimination. It's not me that believes it. Our own country believes that we discriminate against people of faith. Right now, 82% of American citizens believe that Muslims are persecuted. 64% of Americans believe that Jews are persecuted, and half of Americans, 50%, believe that Christians are discriminated against here. Interesting enough, for right-leaning people, more conservative people, 3/4 believe that Christians are discriminated against. Not surprising, but on the other side, those left-leaning, 1/3 of them, that more liberal, more progressive, more left-leaning, 32%, 1/3 believe that Christians are being discriminated against. They are. Sometimes it's institutional. A couple stories from my own life. Back in college, when I went to Western in Bellingham, I started there in 1980. The Christian group that I decided to attend was not allowed to meet on campus, though the school allowed all sorts of groups, the astronomy club, the chess club, the political parties, the LGBT group, whatever groups. All groups could meet except Christian groups, or I should say religious groups, were expressly excluded from meeting on campus. That changed in 1981 when the Supreme Court ruled against the University of Missouri, who had a very similar policy that they could not do that. If you let one group, you have to let all the groups. And then Congress followed with, in the 1984 Equal Access Act, that simply said that if you are going to allow access to one group, you've got to allow access to all groups. That's why groups like Bible clubs and stuff like that are allowed to meet in public schools, because if they allow other groups, they have to allow the religious groups. Something a little bit closer to Ferndale, because we had to change our sign code in the city of Ferndale. We weren't doing anything wrong. However, the city of Gilbert, Arizona, a large city of 250,000 people, had a sign ordinance that regulated the signs in the public right-of-way along the roadsides. That you could have real estate signs, you could have political signs, you could have business signs, you could have this way to this business, it's open now signs, but you could not put church signs in the public right-of-way. It excluded signs that pointed directions towards churches. The Supreme Court said you cannot do that. You cannot discriminate based on content. And they specifically noted that religious content is especially protected by the Constitution of the United States in the First Amendment. So that was changed, and the city of Ferndale had to make some minor adjustments to its sign code. But in our country, people of religious faith, various faiths, are discriminated against on a regular basis. People with more traditional views, more conservative views on matters of life and the unborn, traditional marriage and family, matters of faith and science, and how they choose to educate their kids, they are discriminated against. Now, I'm not going to use the word persecuted. That's not the right word. But there is discrimination. People who hold more conservative and traditional faith-based views are routinely mocked, ridiculed, and insulted by comedians and celebrities, public figures and leaders. You can look it up and find it very easily. They, in colleges, can't get tenure. They lose jobs. They're less apt to be hired or promoted. Their businesses are boycotted. I think Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby. There is clearly an increasing bent against people of faith and their views and convictions. I'd like to close with the First Amendment. And the reason I mention that, I need to say a few words. I'm asked all the times about this, about our current state of Washington's stay-at-home order and shutdown, and the disallowing of spiritual gatherings, that's churches, temples, synagogues, from meeting right now. I am not yet alarmed, but I am concerned. I am concerned that we have singled out religious gatherings as not being allowed to meet right now. Now, I understand that there is an effort to make it equitable, that all groups that look like the same size groups are not being allowed to group. I'm not sure if that's exactly true, as the government has decided that certain places are essential. I can go into stores to buy things, and that's of course important and essential. And there are groups of people there properly practicing healthy social distancing policy. I am uncomfortable with not allowing churches. I understand it. I am not alarmed yet, but I think we're getting rather close, especially when somebody is deciding what is essential and non-essential. I urge people of faith, people in my world, to be patient, be cautious, be vigilant, be thoughtful, hang in there. And I'm going to close with the First Amendment, because my alarm will kick in is when we are clearly violating the spirit and intent of this beautiful document called the First Amendment. It says this: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or of the right of the people to peacefully to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Again, let's hang in there. Let's be patient. Let's help each other out. I realize that we're doing the online meeting. In my discussions with people, they appreciate that, but it is no substitute for gathering together as God's people. Clearly it's not. Nobody would say it is on either side of the issue. Let's just hope, cross our fingers, pray that this stay-at-home order and this inability to gather as a church will end shortly and in a safe way. Okay? Let's hang in there. Let's see where we're going. Again, I'm concerned. I'm not yet alarmed on constitutional issues, but let's hope we don't get to that point. Okay? God bless you. Thank you for listening today, and we'll see you tomorrow.